On a winter night in 39 AD, Rome froze. Not because of the cold, but because every family knew this was the night someone's daughter would disappear. Imagine being 14 years old, already in your nightclothes, thinking the world outside your window is calm, when suddenly you hear armored footsteps echoing down your street. You grew up hearing that a call from the emperor was a privilege. No one warned you it could come without warning. No one warned you the guards would cross your threshold as if your home already belonged to them. And absolutely no one warned you why they carried a lantern covered in red cloth, a lantern they would place in front of your door. In a few minutes, you'll hear your mother whisper your name as if saying it too loudly might anger the gods. In a few minutes, your father will force a smile he cannot hold. And in a few minutes, you'll learn the truth every noble family fears. The Palatine doesn't summon daughters, it claims them. And if you think Flavia's nightmare begins here, you're wrong. What's waiting for her inside the palace makes this moment feel merciful. This isn't rumor. This was the night the Garden of Venus opened. A ritual so terrifying that Rome buried every trace of it. If hidden horrors of the past fascinate you, subscribe to Grim History, hit the like button, and once you reach the moment that unsettles you most, tell me where you're watching from. Let's begin. And the girl who will learn the truth first is Flavia. Remember Flavia, because everything you're about to learn forged the man who will soon decide her fate. To understand how a human being can rot from the inside and emerge as a creature capable of consuming an entire empire, you must go back to the beginning, back to the bloodline that birthed him and the shadows that shaped him long before Rome learned to fear his name. Caligula did not materialize out of madness. He was born into glory, the son of Germanicus, Rome's golden general, the man whose very presence could quiet a legion and ignite a city. The boy should have inherited honor, strength, nobility. Instead, something far more corrosive seeped into him. His childhood did not unfold in gardens or tutors' halls. It unfolded on the raw edge of the empire, in military camps drenched in sweat, iron, and the metallic breath of war. He learned to walk between rows of hardened legionaries, the ground vibrating with the thud of hobnailed sandals. The soldiers adored the sight of their commander's son in miniature armor and called him Caligula, Little Boot. A nickname meant in love, but one that would soon cling to a far darker legacy. But even then, something inside him bent. That frontier world taught him its first rule: power isn't inherited, it's taken. And once you take it, you don't ask forgiveness for how you use it. It was the first crack in the child's soul, and the cracks were about to deepen. The shattering blow came with the mysterious death of Germanicus. Overnight, the beloved child became a target. He watched, helpless, as his mother and brothers were exiled, imprisoned, and executed one by one. No enemy army, no barbarian tribe, just the cold will of Emperor Tiberius. And then came Capri, the island where Rome imagined Tiberius retired in peace, but where something monstrous festered behind palace doors. And the twisted lessons Caligula learned here, Flavia will pay for them in ways she cannot yet imagine. Caligula, barely more than a boy, was forced to live beside the man who had annihilated his family. Capri was not a refuge. It was a gilded coffin sealed with paranoia. For 6 suffocating years, he survived under the gaze of an emperor who trusted no one and killed on a whim. There, Caligula learned a new rule. One far darker than the first. To live, you must smile at the man you want to destroy. He hid every tear, swallowed every tremor of rage, and bowed to the murderer of his blood. And while he remained outwardly obedient, the fractures in his mind widened, widening until something cold and resentful slipped through. So when Tiberius finally died in 37 AD and the Senate lifted Caligula, now 24, into the throne, Rome erupted in a frenzy of relief. A new dawn. A new prince. The son of Germanicus had come to cleanse the rot. And for a moment, he did. He freed prisoners, destroyed the records of Tiberius's spies, cut hated taxes, poured gold into the streets, games, and feasts. Rome believed it had been saved. But the man who will one day reach for Flavia has not fully awakened yet. His darkness is only stretching its wings. But salvation was only the mask, because near the end of that first year, an illness struck so violently that the emperor hovered between life and death. And when he rose from that bed, Something vital had not returned with him. The boy who learned to hide his hatred on Capri no longer needed to hide anything at all. Standing atop the Palatine Hill, staring down at a city that worshipped him, Caligula finally grasped a terrible truth. At the peak of absolute power, there are no gods left above you, only victims below. The cheers of the masses, the trembling silence of the Senate, these did not humble him. His sanity sloughed away like dead skin, and beneath it emerged the creature Capri had carved. Generosity twisted into mania, justice curdled into cruelty. And within the darkness of his thoughts, an idea began to harden. Women of noble blood were not citizens, not daughters, not humans. They were instruments. And the first instrument he will test is waiting on a night Flavia does not yet know will destroy her life. This shift didn't fall on Rome like a thunderstorm. It crept into the city like a sickness. Slow, quiet, untraceable. A poison that seeped beneath marble floors and into patrician homes until it reached the people who believed themselves safest. And somewhere across Rome, Flavia's household heard the same knock. The knock no family dared answer, but no one was allowed to refuse. It began with a visit. The emperor's heralds did not carry swords that day. They carried scrolls sealed with imperial purple, a color that meant life or extinction. Inside those scrolls was the demand no parent dared refuse. Send your daughter, not just any daughter, the most beautiful, the most pure, the most politically advantageous. Families called it an honor. They knew it was a death sentence wearing perfume. To deny the emperor was treason. To obey him was to hand your child to the beast. The girls were taken to a secluded wing of the palace, a place Caligula named with cruel irony the Garden of Venus. Flavia stepped across this threshold, believing she still had control. She would lose that illusion before sunrise. At first glance, it was paradise. Pink marble walls, silk-lined beds, exotic perfumes, and servants who moved like shadows anticipating every need. The daughters of Rome stepped inside believing they had been chosen for sacred service. But slowly, agonizingly, they realized the truth. Paradise was only the decoration. The prison was everything beneath it. And the real purpose of this place, the horror it concealed, was still waiting to reveal itself. And the worst part, this was only the beginning. Because once Flavia's summons came, she would learn the garden did not break girls quickly. It broke them slowly enough for them to understand every step of their undoing. The jewels they were forced to wear weren't decorations, they were chains, heavy gold, cold against their skin, branding each girl as state-owned property. The transparent silks were worse. Garments designed not to clothe them, but to expose them, to remind them that their bodies no longer belonged to themselves. Their names were the first thing Caligula erased. Real names were dangerous. Real names meant identity. So he replaced them with numbers, mockeries, and humiliating nicknames whispered by the emperor himself. With every stripped identity, the Garden of Venus tightened its grip. But the true weapon of the system wasn't jewelry, silk, or even fear. It was waiting. A torture that spilled no blood and left no visible scars, yet hollowed them from the inside out. They never knew when the summons would come. It could be tonight, it could be weeks from now. And every moment in between was an execution by anticipation. The echo of Praetorian sandals in the hallway made their hearts rupture with terror. Breathing became a chore. Sleep became impossible. By the time Caligula ever touched them, the psychological damage was already complete. They were prey softened for the killing. And when the summons finally arrived, it led them not to a private chamber, but to the emperor's nightly theatre, the banquets. The young women were paraded before Rome's elite-like exotic animals on display. Not guests, but living ornaments. Caligula walked among them with the arrogance of a butcher choosing cuts of meat. He commented loudly on their bodies, mocking, praising, ranking, stripping away the last shreds of dignity they clung to. But the real cruelty wasn't his voice. It was the silence of the men who should have protected them. Fathers, uncles, fiancés, all seated at tables of honor, forced to nod at the emperor's obscenities, their smiles stretched so tight they looked carved on. Any flicker of discomfort, any tremor of disgust could condemn them. or the girl to immediate death. That silence was its own kind of execution. And then came the final act. Not chaos, not frenzy, but a ritual rehearsed like theatre. Soft music played to smother the screams. Selected spectators watched in forced admiration, and unspoken rules governed every movement the victim had to make. This wasn't pleasure for Caligula. This was choreography, a show, a demonstration that he owned not just bodies, but souls. And Flavia, standing under torchlight, realized the emperor didn't even see her as human anymore. He saw her as a classroom where he practiced cruelty. Take Flavia, daughter of a respected consul. When she crossed the threshold of the Garden of Venus for the first time, she still believed she might serve in ceremonies or walk beside the emperor. For the first days, Caligula showered her with gifts, attentiveness, even counterfeit gentleness. It disarmed her, it softened her, it set the trap. And when it finally snapped, when the illusion shattered and the truth bared its teeth, Flavia understood the one rule that governed this palace. You cannot resist a man who believes he is a god. Caligula wielded cruelty with expertise. He alternated brutality with feigned affection, beating a girl one night and weeping in her lap the next as he offered jewels worth kingdoms. This emotional whiplash rewired the mind. Victims no longer saw him clearly, hope and terror blended, comfort and violence fused. The one who broke them became the only one who could soothe them, a dependency engineered to make escape impossible. But Caligula wasn't finished. He destroyed solidarity next. Flavia tried to disappear into the crowd of victims, but in the Garden of Venus, being invisible could get you killed just as quickly as being noticed. He ranked the girls who pleased him most, who disappointed him, who would